Perfect. So I think we can go ahead and get started. So I can kind of start by introducing myself. So my name is Layla, and I have been a student staff as a special projects assistant with Careerspace for about a year now, working on organizing large events like this, and even the smaller individual recruitment events, just hoping to connect employers and organizations with our students. So I can go ahead and stop sharing my screen. And thank you again, Chris, for coming out here and sharing kind of information about your organization with us. So I'll stop sharing and you can go ahead and introduce yourself and share your PowerPoint.
Awesome. Thanks, Layla. My name is Chris. I'm with the Asperger Society of Ontario. I actually am a pretty new member. I joined the board of directors there about, I think it's been about 3 months, maybe coming up to 4. I'm very happy to be here today. So thank you, all of you here, very much for attending. And I'm just going to share a PowerPoint here, and then we'll get into it. So this is our website here, www.aspergers.ca, and info@aspergers.ca if you have any inquiries. So a bit about us. We're a not-for-profit organization founded in 2000 by parents and children with Asperger syndrome, as well as concerned professionals. The ASO is the only agency in Ontario that's solely devoted to serving those with Asperger syndrome, their families, and other interested individuals. We have the expertise and resources to help in many ways. As email or phone requests for information are received, they are prioritized and responded within 24 hours by one of our program specialists. If we do not have information readily available, we will conduct additional research to ensure we respond appropriately. So now I'll get into the services that we offer for those with Asperger syndrome or family and friends. So as I was just speaking about, one of our main services we offer is the ASO Action Line. And basically we have a knowledgeable program specialists that are available to respond via phone or email on various requests for Asperger syndrome related information and provide guidance on resources and services available throughout all of Ontario. While the Action Line services are provided free of charge, please note that some of the agencies and professionals that we do refer to, they may charge some sort of fee for their services, whether it's a certain practitioner or some resources available. But what we do is free of charge. That phone number is below, 416-651-4037, and the same email that I presented at the beginning of the presentation is also the another way to request and reach out to the Action Line. We also hold an adult social group on a monthly basis. The ASO Adult Social Group, they meet monthly in various locations in the GTA. The focus of the group is socializing, establishing relationships, enjoying a variety of recreational activities in the community. There is no fee for this program. However, some of the activities they do may, cost typically $25 or less. These can be things like bowling, dining out, going to movies, etc., etc. The idea with this social group is to help those with Asperger syndrome build a sense of community, relationships, and friendships, and also to be around some of their peers where they can relate to each other and maybe some of their challenges that they can also all understand, as well as certain achievements and things like that. We also have a searchable resource database on our website, which is essentially it's a database that we've gathered for all the communities across Ontario, a good chunk of them anyway, and includes data on agencies, camps, diagnosis and treatment, family support practitioners, programs, workshops, and groups, and many other different pieces of information. And it's all community specific, so somebody can go on the website, search on the database for their local community, and then a bunch of resources will pop up that they can look into for what they're looking for. And basically that's access to anybody that goes on our website. So the volunteer roles now that I'll get into, we're a very small organization. So right now we have basically one paid employee. The rest is on a volunteer basis, and that's the executive director who essentially runs the organization. So she keeps very, very busy. So the board that we have, I guess you could call it's a working board. We're a little more active in the organization than you would typically see in maybe a larger not-for-profit. So myself, being a board member, I've taken the initiative to get involved on the volunteer recruitment front, and that's why I'm presenting today. There's some other board members handle some of these other activities, and we're hoping to maybe shift some of those activities into volunteers that can really help us out. So one of the volunteer roles, as I mentioned, there's the ASO Action Line Intake Volunteer. Basically, it's like a shift-based role during the week, and it's lending, caring, supportive listening ear, and helping to gather information about the needs of the person calling or emailing. So this could be someone with Asperger syndrome, it could be a family member, could be a friend. And basically the idea is that you would help identify the urgency of the request and either provide some information about the services, resources that might help, or connect the client to a program specialist who will provide more direct support to ensure their needs are met. So it's a bit of a triage type role. So there's a basic amount of information that you would have access to and be able to pull. But if it's something that you can't answer, then it can be escalated to a program specialist and so forth. The next role we're looking for is a social media coordinator. Essentially, that's managing all our social media accounts. We're on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. I think we're on a couple others, Instagram, and so forth. And basically, the idea is to promote awareness, campaigns, engage the public, and increase our online presence. So it's a bit of both a social media content management role, as well as a bit of a marketing role. Then we're also looking for a volunteer coordinator, responsible for helping create an awesome, diverse team of volunteers to join our organization. So essentially, they'd be working with me and the executive director in recruitment, as well as things like shift management with the ASO Action Line volunteers, and helping coordinate when necessary some of the other volunteer roles. Some of the volunteers that are more academic based might engage the executive director or myself directly. But some of the other roles where, such as the action line and maybe, social media content and some of these types of roles would engage more the volunteer coordinator. That particular role would be something that would build up as we get more volunteers. And so right now, the volunteer coordinator role wouldn't really have much really to do at this point. But as we ramp up more volunteers in the fall here, coming into October, that's where that role will become vital for managing the number of volunteers we get. Another volunteer role is the fundraising manager. So this assumes a lead role in developing a plan for fundraising, partnerships, and sponsorships based on the short-term and long-term funding needs of the ASO. Responsible for meeting income targets by using various techniques to generate donations from sources such as the public. So that could be community mass participation events and regular giving, wealthy benefactors, businesses, community public via special events, charity events. For example, we're in the Scotiabank Marathon this year. We're in that every year. One of our board members is actually running. So things like that, we're trying to raise money for that. So that would be one example of what the fundraising manager would help with. Really any types of initiatives for fundraising that we can get involved with. This could be working with the social media coordinator and working towards developing marketing content that can be put online, whether that's creating posters or something, online posters or whatever the case may be. I mean, I think currently right now, since with COVID, everything is typically going to be more geared towards online marketing as opposed to in person. But in the past, we've had students take posters and put them up on campus. Things like that, or do things in their own schools for fundraising. The next two rules are more, I would say, more academic based. So great for students that are, looking to go into more the research side or technical writing aspect of where they're at in their studies and education and career, where they want to go career-wise. So the grant writer is basically writing grant applications and proposals, monitor the grant process, and coordinate efforts for new and renewable grants and alternate funding streams. So it's both looking into if there's any new grants being offered. I know this year the government actually has released a couple new ones that we're going to be applying for, as well as going through that whole technical writing process of drafting the grants, submitting them, monitoring them. And then also make recommendations about possible funding sources to the executive director and the board. So this one would deal more with the board as a whole in making recommendations and whatnot. I did fail to mention that Currently, we don't have any government funding right now, and so the grant writing volunteer role is quite an important role that we're looking for, because now some of these new grants that are coming out, we potentially qualify for some government funding. But currently, we rely on all private or corporate donations and so forth, either individuals or families or corporations and whatnot. Then the other role is, this is our final role that we're looking for, is a researcher and data collector. The idea behind this is researching services, organizations, practitioners, and resources that support people with Asperger's in communities across Ontario. So basically, this is really supporting the action line and the services that we provide there, as well as that database I mentioned online. It's really updating the info or adding new additional data to that resource to keep it as fresh as possible, and to capture as many changes as possible, and maybe look at certain communities and things that maybe we haven't dug into as deep as we would have liked, and helping provide research and data in those areas. So basically collecting comprehensive information about available services. So for example, where they're located, the type of service provided, whether there are fees for the service, and then put all that collected information about relevant services into a database. There's other things as well, such as conducting surveys. So basically, it's both a research and a data management component together is what drives that particular role. So essentially, that's really all I have for a slide presentation.
People can go ahead in the Q&A section on your bottom screen. You're more than welcome to ask us any questions relating to the positions or the organization as a whole. So we can go in. The one question that we typically see that I'll kind of ask is, do you have a minimum number of hours students would need to participate in, or are the hours flexible?
So we do, depending on the role, we do have quite a bit of flexibility. All these positions are remote. So basically, other than the intake coordinator role, on a weekly basis, a lot of the hours can be completed as someone's schedule, as their own needs. Typically, I would say though the minimum hours per week for any of these roles would be 2 to 3. But they can ramp up if someone was really wanting to volunteer and they had a lot of time. One of these roles could go up to 15 hours. So even though we have these 6 roles open, it's not necessarily 6 volunteer roles we're looking for, or volunteers I should say. It's some of these can be split into 2. So for example, obviously as I mentioned, the shift based, the action line coordinator is shift based, so it could be setting up shifts and scheduling it from there. Where someone could sign up and cover a certain coverage for maybe a day or 2 during the week.
Yeah.
Another, one is such as the research and collecting role. That one can actually be split into even 2 or 3 volunteers, because the idea is we're going to focus on different communities in Ontario. So really, each individual can go and focus on a certain region and gather data, and then all 3 or even 4 can work together in putting that, putting all that together. And that's the same idea with the grant writing position. Social media accounts as well. One person can handle one account, one can handle the other. Yeah, so there is definitely some flexibility there. But I mean, I would say, yeah, the minimum a couple hours a week. We do want, because there is some training involved with these positions, we would want at least for a semester, a volunteer. So hopefully longer, but so a semester is that's awesome still.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's great. And the other question I had is, if students are interested, should they just email the info email you shared previously, or how do students kind of begin the process of getting involved?
Yeah, for sure. That info email, that is exactly the right place to go. So that is info@aspergers.ca. They can also visit the website, and that email is there as well.
Perfect. So after emailing you, would there be a application, or would they just kind of meet with you and determine what the best role for them would be?
Yeah, so the best way to approach it is, if there's a role that interests you, you can reach out via email, and I would say send your resume maybe talk a little about yourself, what interests you in that role, and then we'll set up a call. It'll either be me or the executive director that'll reach out, and then we'll have a quick interview, and then we can go from there.
Yeah.
Definitely, because it's remote. Obviously, the volunteers have to have the capabilities to work remotely, but I think that's pretty standard now with COVID. So, that's not, we're not too worried about that. But yeah, essentially that's the idea of the process.
No, that sounds great and super straightforward and simple for kind of the students get involved. And it sounds like you guys have lots of different positions to kind of meet different people's needs when looking for a volunteer position, which is great. So I'll kind of open the floor and see if anyone has any questions they'd like to submit. But in the meantime, Chris, thank you so much again for taking the time out of your day to come and kind of share this information with our students. We really appreciate it, especially in this new format we're doing it in.
Yeah, and awesome. Thanks for having me. It's great being able to still get out, even if it's online, to reach out for volunteers and whatnot. Because as I mentioned, we're a pretty small organization, so volunteers really drive what we do.
Yeah, no, it sounds like it, but it doesn't seem like anyone has any questions for you. But with that, we'll kind of share that email you provided with
awesome.
the students who attended, and they can kind of outreach to you if they are interested in your positions. We'll also post a video online kind of the presentation, so any students who missed it can still have the opportunity to hear your presentation.
Fantastic.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you again, Chris.
Thank you very much, Layla.